We were met at the airport by Prasanjith Caldera, or Jith as he became better known, who was to be our guide and companion for the next 2 weeks. And so we were off into the Sri Lankan traffic. First stop, 2 nights at the Wanwali Eco Resort on the wetland system between Negombo and Colombo. Wanwali is on the coast, reached by the small ferry going across the lagoon. As we looked out to sea the first morning, we couldn't help thinking of all the damage done by the tsunami only 6 weeks earlier. We spent our first few hours the next morning learning to recognise the common birds around the hotel, such as these house crows. You can see their brownish necks distinguishing them from the larger jungle crows, and in the grounds we also found this interesting wood ant nest. The palm squirrel with its recognisable 3 stripes is found throughout Sri Lanka. Next up was a boat trip around the lagoon in the immediate vicinity of the resort. These are white-bellied or white-vented or common drongos. Some of the birds were familiar from other countries, like this white-throated kingfisher or this green heron, and I'm sure you'll all recognise the common sandpiper. Others were new to us, like this Indian cormorant with its speckled throat, non-breeding plumage. Red wattled lapwing were common throughout Sri Lanka. We had to look much harder to find the yellow wattled lapwings. This is a yellow bittern. White-fronted water hen. In the afternoon we went for another boat trip to the Mutuaja marshes. Well, there's a good reason why they're called cattle egrets. One of many water monitors. Lesser whistling ducks. Top monkey or macaque. As well as the familiar coconuts, there are also king coconuts in Sri Lanka, which are not eaten but are used to provide a very refreshing drink. Really nice. Day 3 in Sri Lanka, and we were heading off to the cultural triangle, visiting the Dambulla cave temples on the way to stay at Sigiriya. By now Jith had been joined by Samantha, who was to be our driver for the rest of the journey. These are paddy fields. The yellowish colour tells us that they're just about ready to harvest the rice. It's a great country if you like egrets. The yellow bills would tell us these are intermediate egrets, not little egrets. This is not a sight you'd see on British roads. Indian roller. These are not birds, they're bats. We'll see more of those later on. Our first view of pheasant-tailed jacana. The reason visitors come to Dambulla is not the magnificent buildings at street level, but to climb up the steep steps leading to the ancient cave temples. Along the way, the monkeys provide distraction. This is where we had to remove our shoes. We then had to walk across baking bare ground in the sun to reach these cave temples. There was a monastery well established at Dambulla in the 3rd and 2nd centuries before Christ. In the 1st century BC it became used as a temple, and the various statues and decorations were added from that time right through to about the 18th century. Thus they represent many different influences from both Buddhist and Hindu periods of Sri Lanka. These are just some of the many statues of a Buddha that fill the cave temples. Can you see why I decided to record this particular piece of rock? Hidden inside is a baby land monitor, just showing. This earthworm was about 40 centimeters long. Opposite this roadside flower shop we saw a very sad sight. Rollers killed by crows, according to the local shopkeeper. This cluster of huts is Sigiriya village where we're staying. It's meant to show traditional paddy field. It's a very small paddy field and some rice fishing equipment and so on and so forth. It's also traditional behind the new huts. There's a traditional village tree hut. The very friendly ecologist who was employed by the resort. The oriental magpie robin will be familiar to anyone who's birdwatched in Asia. In the background you can hear a coppersmith barbet, a common sound in Sri Lanka, and we're going to see the bird right now.
Some birds, and it's calling. To the top.
Richard's pipit. Family of grey langur. People come to Sigiriya, of course, for the rock fortress, but the nearby Sigiriya sanctuary is a great place for birding. White-rumped charmer. Male scarlet minivet. Mimosa or sensitive plant.
and he had a good reputation from all citizens. And he was a great tank builder. And preserver. He had, actually he had so many queens, wives, right? And, oh, yeah. Now the king came here and with his army and to fight because he knows he is entitled to the king.
As you ascend the rock, you come across these very famous frescoes, parts of which are reproduced on tourist guides and postcards. I thought this must be as far as we were going, but little did I realise there was a long way yet to climb to the top. It was well worth the climb for the view and for the close observation of the Shaheen, the local small dark race of a peregrine. I don't really know why, but I was surprised when this monk pulled a ringing mobile phone out of his robes. Sigiriya is a good place to see the dry zone variety of the giant squirrel. Imagine having that trying to get at the nuts in your feeders. Of course, you shouldn't really try feeding them cheesy puffs. The first of many Sri Lankan jungle fowl. Built as the second ancient capital of Sri Lanka, Polonnaruwa grew to a huge city between the 10th and 12th centuries with massive buildings. A great deal of this survives today, at least enough to give you an idea of the scale of both the city and its magnificent buildings.
Period, they took totally various places.
This is an impressive stupa, or dagoba as they are often known in Sri Lanka. The three traditional postures of a Buddha are carved out of this one huge piece of rock. The standing Buddha is over 7 meters tall. In Sri Lanka, butterflies are often encountered in swarms, as here.
Very, very big, very huge.
Right, yes, the one we saw.
Land monitors, but you cannot compare with this water monitor and land monitor.
Back at the hotel, we got these nice pictures of a stork-billed kingfisher right outside the entrance area. Asian paradise flycatcher.